Normally we talk about entertainment, but this was something that was kind of pressing. Q and I wanted to talk about this. Why are MAGA lies so effective? Right? I want to share something. So, again, I'm going to share a bit from a creator. Turn it over to you, Q, and you share. But up front, I want to say this. We know that MAGA voters tend to have more. They have that less educated people, more of the less educated people, whereas more of the more educated people tend to be more progressive in their politics, tend to vote Democrat. This is something that has been well established. And those on the right push back by saying, well, the schools are indoctrinating people. All of them somehow are indoctrinating people to be Democrats. And it's a great Democratic stronghold rather than, hey, you know what? Education might really drive out a lot of the fear, a lot of the xenophobia, a lot of the racism, a lot of the prejudices that people tend to harbor. Just like traveling tends to enlighten people, education tends to enlighten people, and they see the world differently. But no, that doesn't work for conservatism in this country. It doesn't work for the Republican Party. And so let's attack the schooling, right? So the idea of education being in where people go to get indoctrinated kind of cuts that off at the knees. And what they're doing is they're creating, this whole MAGA movement is creating, I think we're on the cusp of like another dark ages, right? Because stupid people who are willing to lie and manipulate truth and data and facts are selling out not just the population, but the planet. These people are supposed to be elected to make the world better for all of the people. Otherwise, what's the point of a government, right? And there's this song and dance between MAGA Republicans, the voter base, and the elected officials that is kind of like a snake eating its own tail. And again, it's kind of pushing us into what I would consider a dark ages. In fact, I'm going to read this. The primary cause of the Dark Ages was the collapse of the Western Roman Empire, which led to political fragmentation, economic decline, and the loss of technology, and increased violence from invading groups like the Visigoths and Franks. This period, also known as the early Middle Ages, saw a decline in literacy, centralized government, and the loss of some Roman innovations, right? So there was definitely a period of regression, and this is what I'm trying to suggest it might be happening here. It is happening here. We see it. Truth doesn't matter, and if it does, there are too many people that don't believe it. And then there's so many uneducated people that don't know how to do scholarly research that indeed they won't. And they just look to their figurehead, not recognizing that monarchies are very difficult to overthrow. And what are they? Plutocracies, I think it was what Donald Trump really is more closely aligned with. Those are very difficult to overthrow. And they're just giving him all the power, taking everything that he says, even though it's nonsense, most of it. And they don't know any better. And they don't care because they only have racism and their idea of self-supremacy and American exceptionalism, white supremacy, I should say, to tell themselves that they are better than everyone else. Now, I'm going to share a video. This is from @CampCallout. I want you to check her out on Instagram. Give credit to this content creator. Her real name is Mercedes Chandler, someone with well over 500,000 followers, somebody that does this on a regular. You're going to hear her words. And before we get here, there's a visual I can't share for folks listening on the radio. For folks that don't know, kitty litter is used in schools to clean up vomit. You know, kids get sick at schools. So that's what kitty litter is in schools for. I think some of you might know where I'm going with this. But without further ado, let's hear from her what she has to say.
I want to talk about a very specific Republican manipulation tactic. This tactic is what caused me to leave the right, even though I was a lifelong conservative, and move over to being a Democrat. The minute I caught on to what they were doing, it was like, oh, no. So I'm going to play a video for you really quickly. Just watch it, and then we'll talk about it. It's the perfect example.
Donald Trump was an FBI informant.
How's everybody feeling this morning after learning that President Trump was an informant for the FBI regarding Jeffrey Epstein?
Speaker Mike Johnson just revealed that Donald Trump has been an FBI informant since 2006.
Donald Trump was an FBI informant, y'all.
This is what I call seed planting. And it is not an accident that Mike Johnson sat up there and said that Donald Trump is an FBI informant. Mind you, he has walked back this claim. He came out and stated that no, he misspoke, and that Donald Trump is not an FBI informant. But the damage has already been done. This is what I call seed planting. And conservatives are not doing this by accident. People in influential positions, whether they be influencers or their elected officials, are purposely doing this. Mike Johnson knew that if he stood on stage and said, Donald Trump is an FBI informant, MAGA would run with it, like in that video that I just showed you. It doesn't matter that it has come out, that Mike Johnson himself have come out and said, no, Donald Trump is not an FBI informant. It doesn't matter. For the next 10 years, if you ask MAGA anything about Epstein, their response to you will now be, no, Donald Trump is innocent. He was an FBI informant. Republicans do this all the time, and it is 100% purposeful. Back when I was a conservative influencer, I had a friend of mine at the time who was also a conservative influencer send me a picture of a cat litter container in a supply closet at a school. They said, hey, Mercedes, you see this container? Make a story that kids are taking in the litter boxes in classrooms. And I said, no, that's not happening. We would have irrefutable facts or proof or evidence if that was happening. And they said, we know it's not happening, but our followers don't, and we can use this to win. And that really stuck with me, and it's kind of what started waking me the fuck up, and I started paying attention. And yeah, they do this all the time. During the 2024 election cycle, that's what really broke me and made me step back and be like, holy shit, these people are master manipulators. The dogs and the cats. They knew that was not true when they said that. They also knew that the woman that they were sharing out was from Canton, Ohio, that she was not a Haitian migrant, that she was zooted off her ass when she chose to demolish that cat, if you will, but they chose to take that and turn it into this entire story that Haitian migrants are eating the dogs and eating the cats. This is, again, what we call seed planting. J.D. Vance came out himself and stated that if I have to make up stories, I will do so. He stated that. Republicans do this with everything when it comes to the Democratic hurricane machines. Almost everything that you can think of that a Republican has tried to run with that wasn't factual and purposely ran with it, it's because of seed planting. It is because they are trying to get the people who they know won't fact check what they say to believe what they want them to believe, regardless of the information that is out there.
Q.
It's the culture wars, Rams. MAGA relies on planting simple emotional lies like this because they know it works. Litter boxes in schools, millions of illegal votes, woke indoctrination, like all this absurd but vague, no evidence-based arguments that they make because they know it will spread like wildfire. Their base will spread the lies faster than we can fact check and correct. And by the time tens of millions of people have shared the lies vehemently, they're not going to admit that they were loud and wrong. So the lie just lives. It's a crazy strategy, but it's an effective one. It works every time.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why MAGA's lies are so effective.